know that's my big family that came along with it. I want to start by addressing the questions you've already asked. I support the arts. In fact, I'd be favorably inclined to consider an increase in the appropriations out of the hot tax. Dues, let me address that question. If it's voluntary, I support it. Potholes, very important issue. Most of us want to talk about what we want to talk about, but this is very important. I would change the way that we address potholes. There's a new technology that's cheaper for the taxpayers that we can implement. It's liquid asphalt. We all know when we see asphalt, they pull it off of the truck, they pack it in a hole, and what's going to happen in 3 months? We got a hole in the same place. Liquid asphalt is more permanent, and I support the adoption of that new technology. It will save us a lot of money. Let me talk about flooding. I come with a heavy heart tonight because a few evenings ago, 9 of our neighbors died. They died because they drove into flooded waterways. That ought not be the case in a city as great as ours. As your mayor, we will implement flood lights at each of our heavy flood areas. Just imagine, people are driving into these areas because they think the water is shallow. Just a simple device that turns on when the water gets to a certain elevation to warn, this is too deep, can save lives. I would support that as a new measure. Number 2, with regard to repairing our streets and our roads, we can do better than simply open cut, which is cutting the asphalt and then filling it back in. We actually have micro-technology techniques right now that's cheaper for the taxpayers, a third cheaper than we're paying right now. Just imagine if we could save off about $263 million of road repairs, 30% savings. As your mayor, I'll do so. Just recently, Stephen Costello knows this as well as all of the other mayoral candidates. The Texas Supreme Court last Thursday effectively struck down Houston's drainage fee. I've always opposed it. I opposed it when it was first conceived. I opposed it when it was passed. I still oppose it today. It's wrongful policy for the city of Houston to continue to tax its residents and not give them an effective drainage system. So I want to tell you, as your mayor, I will not support a drainage fee or a rain tax to be imposed on citizens. So you might ask the question, well, how are you going to handle drainage? How are you going to attack the issue of flooding in this city? How many of you know how the drainage fee is presently being spent? What do you think it's spent on? Do you think it's spent on roads? Do you think it's spent on repairing potholes? How many of you believe that it's being spent on salaries? It is. How many of you believe that it's being spent on bonuses? It is. How many of you think that it diverted some of the money that paid our city attorney $350,000 for his salary? I used to be the city attorney here. I didn't make nearly that kind of money. When we passed the drainage tax, we never thought that it would be used for hike and bike trails. It's wrongful policy, and it was wrongfully sold to the voters. So, as your mayor, I intend to maximize savings off new technologies in terms of handling drainage. Let me tell you about policing. I'm in favor of body cameras on our police officers. It's good for police officers and it's good for the public. I'm also in favor of a citizens review board, not with prosecutorial power, but with subpoena power. Because I believe we are the bosses, the taxpayers, and that the police officers should serve and protect. That's the kind of mayor I intend to be. Let's talk about traffic. As Councilmember Bradford has so often complained and focused on a council, and I applaud you, Councilmember Bradford, how are we going to address traffic issues? The other day I was talking to TxDOT's regional director, and his philosophy or his approach was to continue to channel traffic into congested areas. That's wrong. Right now, more of the $11 billion that will be allocated in transportation needs will come on the west side of town. What about the north side? What about the east side, and what about the southeast side? Just imagine if we could redirect traffic away from the west side to new commercial centers on the west, north, and east side, on the north, east, and southeast side, we can redirect traffic away from these congested areas. As your mayor, I would advocate such a traffic plan. Education. The last time I ran for mayor, some of you may recall, I did run for mayor a couple of years ago. I'm sorry, I gotta please stop here. Ask the question about education and land. Oh, my wife just asked it. Okay, thank you, baby. Your questions, please. Yes.
You were starting a new topic. Go ahead and address that.
I love you. Thank you so much. Education. In order to have a first-class city, you must have first-class education. We have gotten away from believing that because we have an independent school district that the city government has no role in educating our kids. It does. As your mayor, I pledge that I will commit to work with the independent school district and those officials to make sure it's a priority in the mayor's office to educate our children. Yes,
Do you
yes,
see
ma'am.
any other monies coming for early childhood education? That's always been a real struggle. I am a 4th grade teacher, and I still have kids that can barely read at their grade level. We have 6th graders reading in 1st grade level, and early childhood keeps getting cut and cut and cut. Funds cut all over the place. What can we do about it?
I am a strong advocate for education, preschool education, as well as after-school education for our children. Both of my parents were educators. My mother taught for 60 years and my father 58 years in public school. Sandra, my wife, her parent was both a principal in a high school as well as a special needs educator for 20 plus years. As your mayor, I will be the education mayor. Thank you so much for your time.